Hi, I am Omid from Phoenix English. In this lesson, I'm going to show you three simple ways that you can ask a polite question in English. Okay? Now, usually when we're asking a question, we're asking if we can do something, or we're asking permission, or we're asking someone else to do something for us. In which case, we are requesting that they do something. Alright? And there are three keywords that you can use for this purpose, but in different ways. So, let's look at what they are. So those three words are can, could, and may. Now, of course, you have heard those words before, and I'm sure you use them as well. But let's be really sure when to use which one. So it's very easy. We use can in more informal situations. Alright, what do I mean by informal? For example, with your family or friends. We use could in more semi-formal situations. Semi-formal means a little bit formal. For example, with your colleagues, people you work with, right? With your hairdresser, perhaps, or with a salesperson in a store. All right, there we could use could. So we kind of know that person, or we don't know that person too well, but it's not a very formal situation. And the last is in formal situations, when we use may. So what's a formal situation? Well, for example, if you're talking to a client or a customer, or you're at an interview, then you want to be on your best behavior. Use your best manners. Be very polite. Be very formal and proper. And that's when we use may. Now, there is a little difference in terms of the grammar of how we use these three words. So with can and could, we can use those two with all of the pronouns. So we can say, can I? Can you? Can we? Could they? Could he? Could she? Could it? Alright, can use those with all of the pronouns. But when we come to may, we can only use it with I or we. Alright, may I do this? Or may we? You can't really ask permission for somebody else so much. So these are the two ways we use may. Sometimes you might hear it with one or two other pronouns, but really, these are the most common. So that's what you want to be able to use so you can always be 100% right. Now let's look at the same question and how it's different with the three words. Alright? So let's say I'm at home and I ask someone from my family, can I have some orange juice? Alright? So there I'm using can because it's really informal. Now let's say I'm at the mall, I'm at the food court, and I'm ordering some juice. So I say, could I have some orange juice? Slightly more formal. And now let's pretend that we are in a fancy restaurant and I'm ordering orange juice. So then I say, may I have some orange juice? Okay? Now you could add the word please also. But with some of this, it's already very polite. So you don't have to go overboard. You don't have to do too much. You don't have to always say please, especially when you're asking for yourself. Okay? If you're requesting something that someone else do, then often we do add the please as well. Okay, now what are some of the responses? We're not really focusing on the responses in this lesson, but let me just tell you what would be the appropriate responses. Positive responses and negative responses to these questions. So if someone said, can I have some orange juice? Informal. The answer might be, sure, here you go. Or, could I have some orange juice? Yes, of course. May I have some orange juice? Certainly. Okay? So you see that the formality of the question matches the formality of the answer. If it was negative, can I? Sorry, we're all out. Could I? I'm sorry, we're all out. May I? I'm afraid we're all out. Okay, same basic information, but represented quite differently. So now let's look at some more examples. So informally, we could say, can I help you wash the dishes? That could be a really nice thing to say to someone. Okay, or can you clear the table, please? Now you see here, because I'm requesting something of someone else, it's perfectly nice and fine to say please at the end. Okay, can you clear the table, please? What does that mean, clear the table? After you finish eating, there are a lot of dishes on the table. And when you take those dishes to the kitchen or wherever, and you clear the table. That's called clearing the table. Next, in a semi-formal situation where we are using could, we could say, could I get your email address? Or could you send me the report, please? Alright, that's again some business examples. Very common questions that we need to ask people. Alright? And here, the more formal situation. May I help you? This is probably the most common question that is used in customer-oriented situations. Every time you walk into a store, especially a fancy store, may I help you? May I help you? Or on the phone, if you have a customer service job, okay? And then it's sometimes a little bit more specific. May I help you carry your bags, ma'am? Let's say in a hotel. So, anytime you're trying to be really polite to that other person, you want to use may. These were my examples. Now let's see how you do. Alright, so now you need to decide whether to use can I, could I, or may I in these situations. Alright, so you're talking to your professor. What do you say? Blank, submit my paper on Monday. Can I, could I, may I? Well, this is something where you're going to have to decide. Perhaps you'll say, could I submit my paper on Monday? Or, depending on your relationship with your professor, depending on the personality of the professor, depending on the personality of the university or the country that you live in, you might need to use more formal version. May I submit my paper on Monday? I would probably say in that situation, may I? Because I really want to be able to submit my paper late, which is probably what we are asking here. So sometimes, even if your relationship with someone is semi-formal, you might still want to act a little more formal because of your specific request. Alright? Okay. Now here you are talking to a friend. So what do you say? Blank, open the window. So here it's pretty straightforward. Can I open the window? Next, you're talking to a hotel guest. Blank, help you get a taxi? So again, here you want to be very formal. May I help you get a taxi? Good. You're talking to a salesperson in the store. Blank, speak to the manager. What are you going to say? This is one of those semi-formal situations. So you probably say, could I speak to the manager? Good. Hope you got those. Now let's move here to can you or could you? Alright? So you're talking to a child, your child probably. So what do you say? Blank, clean your room. So probably most parents would say, can you clean your room? You can always be polite to your children because you're also trying to teach them. So you could always say, could you clean your room, please? Because that way you're modeling how they should speak. So that's fine. But on an everyday basis, lots of people would probably say, can you clean your room? Okay? Or at least add the please. Next, let's say you're speaking to an audience and you want them to switch off their cell phones, right? So, blank, switch off your cell phones. So here, you would say, could you? It's more formal. Could you switch off your cell phones, please? There would be a good place to put the please in. Alright, you're talking to your brother. Blank, call me later. So what would you say? Can you? Right? Informal relationship. You know him. Can you call me later? I'm busy right now. Next, you're asking a receptionist. Blank, connect me to the sales department, please. So what would you say? Again, you want to be a little bit more polite. Could you connect me to the sales department, please? Alright. Now, that was really good. Hope you got all of those right. That was all for today's lesson. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel for lots of other delightful lessons that will help you improve your English much faster. Thanks very much for watching. Bye for now.